show. This is Strange Frequencies Radio. This guy sitting next to me, Bobby Nelson.
Hi, how are you?
I am Jason Corbis. And today on the show, we are going to be talking in the second hour to independent paranormal investigator Anna Hill, a person we've been friends with for a little bit now. She's based out of California. She actually knows our West Coast correspondent Lou.
And she likes him.
And she actually likes him. So we're going to have to get into that because that's going to be the strangest thing we're going to talk about today. And she's contributed to sites like Doubtful News. And yeah, so it's going to be fun. We like to talk shop occasionally with people, and this is a good opportunity to do it. In the first hour here, of course, we have a variety of stories to get to. First, of course, I have to say, strangefrequenciesradio.wordpress.com is our website. And on that website, Bob, what can you get? What can you do?
On our website.
On our website.
You can do everything.
Everything you want to do.
You can find archives to old shows.
You absolutely can do that.
You can email us.
Yes.
You can find a link to our Facebook page.
Which is facebook.com/strangefrequenciesradio.
Nice.
That's pretty much it. That's pretty much all you can do.
Yeah.
You can listen live. You can do all that kind of stuff. You can also get the Dropbox link, which if you're having difficulty downloading the show through conventional means, usually about the last 3 months where the shows are available via Dropbox. And the YouTube link, well, that's just available occasionally because I have to remind Bob all the time to do it, and he just never does it.
Yes, that's true.
All right. All right. So let's get to the meat and potatoes.
Okay.
Let's get to the appetizer here first.
Okay.
All right. So for those listening, whether you're listening live or whether you're listening through the podcast, listening via podcast later, and you don't like it when we talk about somebody getting shot,
Yes.
skip like the next 30 minutes.
Because that happens about once a week now.
And I actually don't like talking about it.
I know.
But the reason we're talking about this one, and I'm sure if you have seen the news at all, you know which one we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the man who gunned down and murdered the two journalists live on television.
Yep.
And then the guy uploaded the video. He recorded video of him shooting people and uploaded it to social media. So we're going to be talking about that from a variety of angles. And I guess I'll let you go first because I know you've got a lot that you want to say about reactions you've heard and just other things related to that.
So I check CNN every day. And on Thursday, I guess it happened on Wednesday, but on Thursday they were actually showing the video of the that was caught by the regular cameraman.
Right.
The one that also died in the tragedy.
Yeah.
So I watched the video. I wasn't sure what I was going to see, but I figured if they were showing it on like news websites, it probably wasn't going to be gory.
Right.
And basically what you see in this video is you see this beautiful young woman interviewing. I think she was only like 24
years old, yeah.
She was interviewing, I believe it was like the Chamber of Commerce in I don't remember what city it's at, what city they were in, but it was in Virginia.
Yeah.
And they're just talking, and then all of a sudden you just hear gunshots ring out and people screaming, and then the camera falling.
Yeah.
I could not believe it. It freaked me out a little bit. I showed a couple people in my where I work in my office, and then we went.
Because this happened like right before 7 a.m. that day.
It was like 6:15 in the morning when they were doing the interview. And I got to the lunchroom. And I need to start taking a tape recorder in the work because people, I tell these conversations, and I swear to God, people probably don't believe me that half the shit that people say that I'm making up.
Yeah.
So we get there, and the very fucking first thing, after a few people watch it, I pull up on my phone, and then there's like 7 or 8 people come around. They watch it, and this guy says, "I bet he would think twice if she was strapped." So no sorrow, no condolences, no damn, no nothing. The first response that this person had was, he would have thought twice had he known she was carrying.
Yeah, and when I hear that kind of thing, the first thing, like if that's your first response, I always think you failed as a human being. Yeah. If your first reaction to seeing someone be murdered in cold blood is, they should have been carrying a gun.
Right. Have you ever been on the news?
Yeah, actually.
So when I was on the news, I don't know if they did this to you. The very first thing before
we were on the news together once.
Oh, we were. Yeah, I forgot about that.
But yeah, before that I was too.
But when they were actually doing like a story to us,
right,
or to me, one of the very first things that they said before they were going live is the woman goes, "Listen, there's only a couple of rules. Don't pay attention to anybody standing around us, and don't look at the camera.
Okay.
She goes, only look at me.
All right.
I'm going to ask you questions. Do not make eye contact with anybody because it's going to look weird if you're freaking like your eyes are traveling everywhere.
Okay.
So I have to believe that they are trained, like news reporters are trained in a way to just ignore things that are going on around them. Because they're focusing on a story and they don't want to be themselves turning their heads and trying to, so they're trying to just...
I think everybody's seen videos of like where the newscaster is at some live location, shooting live somewhere, and like there's people in the background going like, where?
Right.
All that. And they're trying their damnedest not to pay attention to those people.
Yeah, and they're trying, like you said, they're trying their damnedest. And so I just said back to him, I go, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I go, let's just say that, I go, when would she have time to pull the gun? Again, it follows this faulty logic that she's the good guy. Had she been carrying a piece, somehow these bullets would have missed her, and then she would have been able to take a shot.
Yeah, I mean, it's clear that the gunman, who we're not going to name today.
Yes.
And we'll get into that reason, I guess, a little bit later. But yeah, I mean, first of all, the guy recorded his own video, which I saw, which was among the most chilling pieces of video I've ever seen in my life.
I actually want to get into that video a little bit.
Yeah, I mean,
go ahead.
If you've seen the video, he comes up behind them during the filming, and he takes his gun and he points it at the woman, at Allison Parker first, and just like holds it there for a few seconds, then like it goes back, and it's like, no one ever sees.
Do you know why he did that?
I guess I don't know.
Because I can only guess.
Yeah.
I was watching the video, and there's a part where he's going to shoot.
Is he trying to like frame his shot or something? Or?
He's waiting for the cameraman to pan back.
Okay.
Because he wants it to be on the news. I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Because he puts it up, and then the cameraman kind of takes like this shot, like an off in the distance shot, and then pans it back to her, and that's when he shoots. I can only guess that
it could be part of
his idea was he wants to get this
make
live
sure this
on
is
TV.
on the news. Yeah.
It's very chilling, like you said. It almost looks like a first-person shooter game.
Yeah, it looks like Wolfenstein.
Yes, all you see is the guy walking. All you see is the gun.
Right.
It's very creepy. And again, that video is it's chilling, but it's not extremely graphic. I mean, if you watch it, you're not going to see blood or anything splatter, but it's still, you're watching two people die.
Right.
The third person that was being interviewed was also shot, but she lived. She was only shot in the back.
Yeah, she's going to have the person they were interviewing. The cameraman's dead, Adam Ward, and Allison Parker, the woman, the news reporter, are both dead. The woman they were interviewing is, I know she's had to have surgeries.
Yes.
And they're saying that her recuperation is going to take several months. But she's going to live, but and only by sheer luck, probably.
Yeah.
Is she going to live? But
so this was a revenge killing. At first, you know what I thought it was? I thought it was like, man, this is like a gang initiation or something.
Okay.
Somebody
when you
that
first saw it.
Yeah, being that the person they were interviewing was probably a status symbol in the community. I figured that they were trying to make their point across. I had no idea because there was no information that was given yet. Come to find out, it's a disgruntled employee.
Yeah.
But I want to get back to that video we were talking about. So after that video comes out, I can't remember if it was later that day, and I showed that video. I showed the video of the that was first shown on the news. The one that was shot by Ward.
Right.
I think I showed that one at like 10 o'clock during break, and then by lunch I had the regular video of his POV video.
Right.
And everybody keeps doing the same. They kept saying the same. I was actually getting pissed. Like I was more offended at this than anything else because it just shows you that people think that people know everything, or they
we have total awareness at all times.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It's like he's like right there in the peripheral. He points twice. I go, she's not fucking paying attention to that.
Right.
And I go when I was telling you about that,
I don't think anyone there ever saw him.
Right.
Until he started shooting.
And if they may have even, I don't want to know, maybe if they thought or they could hear somebody or sense somebody, they probably thought it was just a person watching a fucking news story.
Yeah, you're not thinking somebody's coming up with a gun is intending to kill you.
Yeah. Again, the news reporter isn't going to stop and go, "Excuse me, sir, what are you doing?"
Yeah, right, during a live shoot.
Yeah. So, people were going, I find this is amazing that she doesn't notice this. And I go, "Why is this amazing?"
Yeah.
I go, "We don't notice shit all the time."
Right.
So the way I had to prove this is by showing them the perception test, the invisible gorilla test.
Right.
I go, you're amazed that she's not catching this out of her peripheral vision. I'm going to do something to you, and I'm going to be amazed that you're not going to see it as you're looking right at it. So I gave it to about 5 or 6 different people, and none of them passed.
None of them passed.
None of them passed.
Okay.
And even after I showed it to one individual, and then after lunch, I wanted to show it to another woman that I was talking to, and it was actually my cousin Al. He even says, oh, there's that gorilla. And then the woman still didn't see the gorilla after he made her aware that there was a gorilla in shot, because she was too busy fucking counting how many times players with the white shirt passed the basketball.
Yeah.
So
can you talk about that test really quick, just in case people haven't seen it? Because here's what I'm worried about, and this is the times we live in now. The shooter of these people was a black man.
Oh, okay.
I'm afraid people are going to hear invisible gorilla and think we're talking about the black man.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that.
And the only reason I think that is because remember that guy one day on the show you were talking about transgender people.
Oh yeah.
You accidentally for a second used the wrong pronoun or whatever, and we got like a shitty note on our Facebook page.
So. Okay, so the invisible gorilla test is the perception test, and the reason why it's called an invisible gorilla test is because a person dressed up in a gorilla suit makes an appearance. So what it is I think there's 6 people. There's 3 people in black shirts and 3 people in white shirts, and they're all passing basketballs around. The object of the test will tell the individual that's doing the test to count how many times the players in white shirts are passing basketball. So what you're doing is you're focusing all of your attention on how many times these individuals are passing the basketball. And during this process, a person in a gorilla suit will slowly walk in, bang its chest, spin around, wave, and then walk off the other side.
Now, if you've never seen it before, now you'll know what to look for.
Now,
but
it won't work now.
Yeah, we did it years ago, and I'll tell you, the first time I saw it, I did not see that gorilla walk into the screen.
Right.
And so it's just called inattentional blindness.
Yeah,
it's the same thing that explains when people get in car accidents and then they're like, no, that person came out of nowhere or whatever, because you're focusing on the radio or your cell phone conversation or whatever else. You're not focusing your attention on the road. So, a motorcycle drives in front of you, you hit the motorcyclist, or somebody hits the motorcyclist, and they say, no, they came out of nowhere. Well, they didn't really come out of a different dimension into our dimension, and then then the person ran them down. What happened was your attention was mildly focused in another direction, and you weren't paying full attention to what you should have been paying attention to.
So then at the end of it, it'll say, how many times did players in white shirts pass the basketball? It's like, correct answer is 15. You feel sweet for a second.
You're like, oh, yeah.
And then it's like, but did you see the gorilla?
You're like, what?
And you're like, what? And then it'll rewind it in real time, or not real time, but it'll rewind it for you so you can see. And you'll see the guy in the gorilla suit wave, spin around, and then exit off.
And you're like, no, let me rewind that myself.
Yeah, then you rewind it back like you think you were pranked.
Motherfucker, they trying to fool my ass.
Yeah, you go back and you're like, holy shit. So it's just a perception test. It's fun to do that to people now that you have cell phones, you can pull it up on YouTube and give it to anybody you want. And people are absolutely 100% amazed. But this is exactly what had happened. This guy was basically invisible because nobody there was paying attention. They were all focusing on something totally different.
Yeah, right. I mean, they were the reporter was focusing on interviewing the woman, the cameraman was focusing on making sure that his shot is good and everything. So they're not paying attention to the person that's walking up behind them with the gun or standing even right next to him. That guy could have taken his clothes off and started dancing around. I don't think they would have seen him. So the idea that they should have seen him, or that's ridiculous to me. And the idea that they should have been, if they would have been armed, it wouldn't have happened or whatever. That's all stupid.
And so then after people were taking that, I go, so are you guys? And there was a couple of people like, I'm still amazed that they didn't see it. I go, how are you that amazed that she didn't see him in her peripheral vision, and you can't see the guy in a gorilla suit looking straight at it?
Yeah.
And they go, I find that amazing too that I missed that.
Yeah, well, it's called psychology. Look into it. I mean, it's not a difficult concept to grasp. I mean, especially when you've seen yourself, you don't see something right in the middle of your computer screen or your whatever. So I mean, I don't know. Let me ask you this though. Here's a part of the story that's been debated hotly since this happened. There's a lot of people who think this was a hate crime because this was a black man shooting. He ended up shooting 3 white people. 2 of them died, of course. The third, as we mentioned earlier, the third survived. Some people feel it was a hate crime. Others feel it was not. I guess on Fox News they were adamant that it was a hate crime, and there was like somebody there. I don't know if he was a psychologist or a psychiatrist or what, but he was saying it's actually not a hate crime. This was like quintessential workplace violence. He was a disgruntled ex-employee who had a particular vendetta against these people.
Yes.
And that's why he came and shot them.
Yes. This was, But I can actually see how people can make the link that this is a hate crime because of what he said in his 23-page manifesto.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, he basically said that he was blaming the actions of the individual that shot up that Baptist church in North Carolina as his breaking point. But he did have negative reactions or whatever with these two individuals. Like the cameraman, Adam Ward, had gone to human resources on him.
Yeah, there was something wrong with this guy. I mean, not just because he ended up shooting people, but he'd been fired from the station a couple years before for making like weird accusations against people and making people uncomfortable, sudden rages and things like that he'd go into. He accused them of being racist because one time in the lunchroom there was like pieces of watermelon that were available or something like that. Somebody asked him at one point, "Hey, you gonna swing by for lunch anywhere?" And he thought that was like a reaction to him being a monkey. Or whatever, like, "Oh, I'm black." You're saying swing by, like just like weird things like that, like regular everyday conversation that I don't think most people would take offense to. He seemed to have taken offense to.
Yeah.
Just a lot of things like that. When they fired him, actually, they had to have security escort him out because he said he wasn't going to leave.
Oh yeah.
And then when they did escort him out, like the general manager of the station said something like, "If you ever see him again on the ground, you call 911."
Yeah.
So they were that concerned about this guy. Now I did read that people from the station had seen him around town, like in the time since,
right?
In the months and years since or whatever, and had no issues. But
yeah,
there was definitely something wrong with this guy because even things like I read that he got angry with a waitress one time for saying something like "Have a nice day," and he wrote like I can't remember his exact words or what she said that angered him, but it was some like everyday greeting or whatever, and he wrote her like a 12-page letter about why she should never say those exact words.
Yeah,
so there was something wrong with this guy.
But there was something. Yeah, there's something not right.
But back to the racial aspect. In his manifesto, he did say that he'd been like a human powder keg for a long time, just waiting to go boom. I think is how he put it, and he said something. Yeah, he did say that the triggering point was the Charleston church shooting, where the white supremacist guy went in and shot up everybody. He said like that happened like 2 days later. He bought his gun.
Yeah.
And he said something like, "You want a race war? Effers or whatever. Some expletives in there that didn't show on the news. But you want a race war? I'll give you a race war or whatever." And so yeah, I can see when you read that indicates that there was at least some racial issue somewhere. I don't know if the racial issue was then that he shot the white people or he had anger about white people anyway. He said that he was a black man, he was a gay man, he'd been facing discrimination from workplace individuals for a while. I guess in the end, I can't really say what his motivation was,
right.
But I can see people's perspective who do think it was racially motivated because some of the things he said in the manifesto. But I also see the perspective of the experts who are saying things like this is quintessential workplace violence. He didn't go out and shoot up like a Whole Foods or whatever to kill a bunch of white people. What he did was he went after very specific people that he'd had grudges with.
And he had to have been he had to have been stalking these people.
Yeah, I mean it's 6-something in the morning, and he knows where they're going, and so that's really bizarre.
Yeah, people were saying that he was either tipped off by somebody at the station, or he was just waiting and following.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing it was probably waiting and following.
I'm thinking that's may have been what it was because this guy seemed like a bit of a creeper.
So then, ultimately, the guy ended up popping himself.
Yeah, during the police chase, he ended up killing himself.
And he didn't die right away. At first, they did say that it was a suicide right away, and then they said, he's still alive.
Yeah,
he's been taken to a hospital, but that is where he did die. It's probably for the better.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, part of me wanted him to face charges.
Me too.
I want him to, actually be punished for what he did, and not just take I want to say the easy way out, but it's I guess in a way you don't get punished if you just shoot yourself in the head or whatever.
But and then you read other stories that happened that were like the man Adam Ward's fiance was in the control room and actually watched this happen live, and it was actually her last day, and they were getting ready to move somewhere else.
Yeah.
Come to find out that her name's Allison.
I don't know for sure.
The reporter.
Yeah, Allison Parker.
She was also in a relationship with another person that worked at the station.
Yeah, I mean, the news crews. Like, I think when you work in a job like that, whether it's police officers or whatever else, I think a lot of times people end up, because it's such a tight knit, I guess a little mini community you form.
Yeah.
People end up falling in love with each other.
Yeah, sure.
And that certainly seems to be what happened here. People who work together end up forming relationships because they're together so often.
But I did want to give credit to the station manager when he was interviewed, and then they start asking questions about the shooter, and he goes, "I'm not here to talk about them.
Okay.
To talk about him. I'm
Yeah.
here to talk about the lives and how much we loved Allison and
Oh,
Adam."
good for him. Yeah.
So that was at least not giving more press to this deranged madman.
Yeah, and that's actually something I wanted to talk about. Is I read this article, I think was in the was it in the New Yorker? No, it was on TheVerge.com. Let me open it up here so I can get the author's name. Her name was Elizabeth Lopato, who wrote this article for The Verge, and her basic argument was that this killer and so many other killers are exploiting social media in ways that this guy, of course, was a former newsman himself, kind of knew how to exploit the media, and so he films himself doing it, then uploads it to social media. But we've seen other cases like this where mass murderers or crazy gunmen or whatever take to social media to vent their frustrations either before or right after an attack. And she's making the argument in this article that we have to figure out a way if they crave attention. If these mass murderers and things like that crave attention, want their names in the papers, want to be famous or whatever, want publicity for what they're doing, the only way we can really stop them from doing that, aside from taking their guns away, and I don't know how feasible that is, aside from taking their guns away, is basically we have to stop paying attention to them.
Right.
We can still. She basically said we can talk about the incidents that happen because those are important. We have to talk about the incidents. No one's saying you can't talk about the incidents, but stop talking about their names. Stop talking about their wants and their desires and all the stuff they write in their manifestos or whatever. And she was basically saying that the media now, like the major mass media, it's like it's almost impossible to ask them to not give out names or details or whatever because it's a news story, and I don't know how you can stop them from saying it. But she was saying that people like us, people who consume the news, are the ones who are really in charge of spreading information now. We
Right.
get information; it's up to us what we share on social media now. We don't have to make the killer's manifesto, for instance, go viral.
Yeah.
So I kind of took that to heart. The one thing I shared about the story during the week, and I shared it on my Twitter account, was just multiple anecdotes of his time at the station and since he left. And the reason I wanted to share that and why I was interested in that is because I read stories like that about the weird things he did while he was at work, the weird things he's done since he's been fired.
Yes.
And I think these were red flags that were popping up that I'm not saying anyone should have known what he was going to do. I mean, I don't think many people know that someone's going to go out with a gun and
Yeah.
shoot a news crew.
Especially,
But
he was,
incidents that this guy needed some kind of help.
yeah, but wasn't he let go in 2012?
Yeah, it was a couple years ago.
This
yeah.
guy waited 3 years.
Yeah, right. So I mean, this has been festering in his mind for a while, or maybe he turned on the news one day and seen Allison Parker and thought, "No, I'm going to get her."
Well, you know what?
I don't know. What he was
And
thinking,
what's even more sad is that Adam Ward and Allison Parker probably forgot all about
yeah.
anything that happened
Right.
back then. I mean, this was 3 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. So it was years and years ago. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know what has to happen exactly. I mean, I would like it if people didn't share as much information about when these killers write these stupid manifestos or whatever. I guess I wish in a way that people wouldn't share it as much, even though we're sitting here talking about some of the things that are in it.
Yeah, but it's true. I mean, you go on Facebook the day after the event happened, and all you see is his picture.
Yeah.
You don't see the cameraman and the reporter.
Right.
And you don't hear a damn word about the woman that was being interviewed.
Right. Yeah.
Just that she's in stable condition. All you see is this guy's picture with to be honest with you, a really nice, friendly smile.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean,
Just
that's
looks like your average Joe,
yeah,
right?
I mean, he just looked like a normal guy.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know, and I don't know what we can do to. I mean, I don't know what we can do to stop, making the manifestos of killers go viral or whatever. Aside from not share it, I guess. I don't know what we can do to help people who sound like this guy, when he's had incidents like the kind of stuff he was having at work. It does sound like something was wrong with him.
Yeah.
Although he didn't have any psychological issues that were diagnosed, as far as I know, he was able to purchase a gun legally. He didn't fail a background check or anything like that. But I don't know. I mean, do we have to start having a workplace psychiatrist at everybody's office or whatever for people like this, just in case, or just if you just want to talk?
Yeah,
I mean,
maybe.
not that you're crazy and you're going to go shoot somebody one day, but everybody's had stressful days at work.
Or somebody that can just intervene whenever.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
Somebody's
A workplace
creeped out.
mediator of some type,
I don't think that would actually be a bad idea.
Yeah, I mean, it would cost every company money if you're going to have like
And that's
any
the problem.
Yeah, any company of a sizable, of a certain size, I think would be able to afford one extra person to be like a workplace mediator or whatever. But a small business maybe not. I mean, you're struggling to even pay people minimum wage in some cases.
I know that my company, if you went to human resources, see, but the thing is, if you went to human resources, I don't know how secretive people want things to be kept, but if you go to human resources at my work and you say that you want therapy for whatever reason, they'll give you like 5 free sessions.
Yeah. Okay.
And then it's up to you if you want to keep paying. You can send it through your insurance company, but they'll give you 5 free sessions for anything. So like at my work, if you get a random drug test and you fail, you're fired. Period. Okay. End of story. But if you go to human resources and say, listen, I'm developing a bit of a drug problem. I'm becoming hooked on cocaine or smoking marijuana or whatever. They won't fire you. They will actually seek out some type of rehab or some type of help that you can get, and then monitor you.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're addicted to drugs or whatever, I think it's a medical issue, and I don't really think people should be fired for that unless it's affecting their job performance.
Right.
That's me though. I mean, I know people will disagree, but so yeah, I mean, if you're having a drug issue, and you can talk to this workplace counselor or the mediator, whatever the person's going to be called, or that should be kept entirely confidential. You should be able to say whatever you want to say to that person and not have it affect your job later or whatever. So yeah, I don't know if that's something that certain companies can look at. I don't know. I know where I work, nothing like that is offered. But a previous job that I applied to and started to go through training, the first day of training, they passed out business cards to a like workplace therapy, where they were saying like they would offer so much free counseling or whatever for this. And I just thought any job that I need counseling to do. I mean, that was kind of scary to me that on the first day they're like, here's a counselor in case you need to speak with one or whatever. It kind of scared me.
But what's funny is that
like how hard is this job if I need
but
counseling?
Not that, but I think it's funny that we live in a society where even if they offer you that, it's a turnoff.
Yeah.
You were like, oh my God, like it was a bad thing. And I think that might be part of the.
It could be.
It might be part of the problem because you're definitely not the only one.
Yeah.
If somebody gets a psychologist card or a psychiatry card or some type of therapy, people would be like exactly the same thing. Like, what the hell am I getting hired for?
What is this job that I'm getting into? Yeah. Maybe there was a different way they could put it. I don't know. Or if there was like a workplace psychiatrist or mediator or life coach or whatever the person there does. Maybe they could bring that up in like a more tactful way. I don't know. But when they put the business card down everyone's desk, like, here, if you ever need any kind of counseling because of the stresses of the job, here you go, or whatever. And I was like, oh man, this must be a really terrible job. So I didn't actually end up doing that job, but but anyway. So I guess one more thing that I'd like to cover with this story before we move on, and that's it's a story I know, Bob, is near and dear to your heart. The idea that this was a hoax.
Oh my gosh!
That this didn't happen, and we see this now every time there's a major incident like this.
Yeah. So
there will always be a pocket of people who believe that this is all a hoax. It never really happened. It's just actors.
I saw this yesterday. Actually, I was I woke up in the morning, and I was on Facebook, and somebody said they had an article up. I actually didn't read the article. I was not going to give the article any attention, but I was reading the person asked, "Was this a hoax?" And there was probably like 150 comments, and people were actually saying, yes, this was a hoax.
Wow.
And I'm thinking, what?
Yes.
You talk about people that fail in society. Not only when you're talking
failed
about
reality.
You failed as a human being when you say, he would have thought twice if she was carrying herself. I'm thinking, you guys can't even like empathize or show sympathy with these families that lost their loved ones.
Yeah.
Instead, you're doing probably what I would consider the most insensitive thing ever, saying
this didn't even happen.
This was just a lie.
Yeah, this is all a lie.
And I don't know.
That's just. I mean, the people who, when you see a tragedy and your first thought is, well, you should have been armed or whatever. If that's your first thought, I think those people fail at being human beings. But these people who think it's all a hoax, they've just failed at reality. Yeah. They don't have grasps on reality at this point.
I don't think they understand the implications of how complex a hoax like this would have to be.
Oh man,
the entire news organization there would have to be in on this hoax.
WDBJ, they're all in on this hoax. Yeah. They know that this Allison Parker is just an actress. and that the cameraman, just an actor.
Yeah.
The person being interviewed apparently is just an actor.
The police force has to be in on it. The hospital has to be in on it. The fucking Chamber of Commerce has to be in on it.
Everybody who's invested in the story has either been duped or is in on it.
Yeah. And
I mean, you can go to the website and see video from weeks and weeks ago of Allison Parker doing the news.
Right.
You know, doing remote video pieces.
Well, what you don't know is that
she's been acting there for quite a while, apparently.
it's all part of the hoax.
Yeah, WDBJ doesn't even exist. It's not even a real news station.
I mean, I don't know what else.
Virginia is not a real state. It's all made up.
Yeah.
I don't know what they think.
So then you said that you had actually found somebody that we don't know personally, but we know of him.
Yeah.
And he said something along the lines like, had she been shot with these hollow points, she would have been destroyed.
Right.
And I don't remember anybody ever saying that she was shot with hollow points.
All that it said in his manifesto is he's like, my hollow points have the victim's initials on them.
Okay.
Now, that doesn't mean later he's going to actually shoot anybody with hollow points.
Yeah.
And I haven't read an autopsy yet that indicates that they were shot with hollow points.
Right.
All I've read is that they were each shot in the head and in the torso or chest.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the woman who is still alive, she was shot in the back, I think.
Right.
I can't remember, but
So in the span of like 1 second,
yeah.
I think 5, 6 or 7 shots ring out.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know exactly how many. It's very possible that, and you even said this to me, it's very possible that the first one missed.
yeah, even though he was only several feet away, it's possible he missed. Because the first shot, I think, is always the one that you're like,
oh, fuck.
That's the one where you're like, this is really happening now.
Yeah.
And you take that first shot, maybe your arm jerks or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, Oswald missed the first shot on Kennedy, even though that was the easiest shot to take.
Yeah.
He missed that first shot.
Which, again, was considered a conspiracy.
Yeah, right. Any major event now is a conspiracy. So, yeah, but the reason people think this, what it seems to be, as soon as you told me that you've been seeing the idea that this was a hoax pop up, I thought, well, there's the one thing that pops into my mind is why people would say it was a hoax. Is because people always seem to think that, like, the government is coming to take your guns. So what the government would do is orchestrate this hoax, get the people rallied around for, gun confiscation or whatever. Then, the jackbooted thugs of the government are going to come in and take everyone's guns. That seems to be the idea behind all this nonsense that people are saying about the hoax. It's always about taking their guns.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, the gun confiscation thing's not happening. All right?
It really isn't.
And if this was the government's best plan, to shoot down an anchor and a cameraman, and that's going to make everyone rally around the idea of gun confiscation, then you're stupider than I thought.
Yeah, right.
Because maybe if the Kardashians were all killed, like I told you last night, maybe that would upset people. But I think in this country, we hear about shootings so many times, we've just desensitized to it.
We are very desensitized to it. I've brought this up many times. I mean, listen, you guys. If we're not going to do anything to limit gun control after a massacre at an elementary school, nothing's going to happen from a news reporter and a cameraman dying.
It's true. I mean, it's sad to say that, but yeah.
It's very sad to say that.
If 20 kids get gunned down by a crazy person in Sandy Hook, then this is nothing compared to that. People are just all that really happened here is because it was live on television and the gunman was filming it himself on his cell phone or whatever. That shocked people, but it's been a few days now, and people have more or less just moved on. Yeah. And I know the father of Allison Parker is saying he's going to shame politicians into more gun control or more gun safety. I don't know what exactly he plans to do, but
more power to you.
Yeah, more power to you and everything. And I wish you all the best of luck. But this country just moves right on. I mean, we see gun violence so often that we're just desensitized to it. We see it on the news almost every night. If not the national news, the local news. There's always shootings here in Toledo, it seems like.
Yeah.
So we see that so often, it just doesn't register as like a major issue anymore. I mean, it does to me, and I know it does to a lot of people, but I think most people, even though it's a major issue to me, I can also just move on in some ways. I mean, I still think about it, and I still wish things would happen with mental health and other issues, but I just don't see anything happening because a news crew was gunned down. As horrible as it is, people will just move on.
Yeah.
So, all right.
We should probably move on too.
Let's move on to some other stories. Then we've got a few more things here to talk about in the first hour before we get to Anna Hill in the second hour. Let's talk about this issue with Mars. All right.
Oh my gosh. I gave this about a whole 5 seconds.
Okay. Mars is in the news frequently, and so many times it has nothing to do with how it's cool, like how astronomy is awesome or
Oh,
whatever.
we're talking about a different story than what I was thinking.
Well, I mean, I want to talk about both of them, really. I mean,
Okay.
there's been images of Mars that
Yeah.
are been released lately. People are seeing tiny pictures of rocks and thinking that they're life.
they're like rats.
Yeah, I seen. I guess Lawrence Krauss was on like CNN or something and said his favorite thing he's seen so far is that people believe it's Bigfoot.
Yes, I saw that one.
So it's tiny rocks, but
Listen.
people, yeah.
Bigfoot is so awesome that he's figured out a way to like transport to Mars,
So that's where he's been.
and that's why we can't ever find him.
Right.
So
He's got a Martian transporter. He can just. No wonder he just leaves footprints and his bodies are
just
never
vanishes
found.
because he goes back to Mars.
So I don't know what the feeding with the what his food source is like on Mars, but that's where he apparently has been. I also wanted to talk about this story that seems to happen every year, and that's the idea that on August 27th, which was a few nights ago now, August 27th, if you go outside, the moon and Mars will be the same size in the sky. That there will basically it'll look like two moons in the sky, because that's how close Mars is. Now I have to say that didn't happen.
It won't happen.
And it will never happen.
I was telling you, I was like,
Yeah.
if you ever go outside and Mars is the same size as the moon,
Yeah.
be afraid.
Yeah, it's the apocalypse if that happens.
Something's not right.
So I was looking into this as to why people believe this, and I found this article by Mike Wall on space.com. He's a senior writer for space.com. And what he said is that this has actually been popping up every August 27th since 2003. So for 12 years now. And what happened was it all came down to an email that was, at one time, I remember you used to get these chain emails.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of maybe the time that this was in, where people would send out emails as opposed to just posting crazy things on Facebook. But I don't know. Either way, it says from his article, it says, the unknown sender of that message was trying to get people excited about an unusually close approach of Mars to Earth in late August 2003. So what happened was people read this email and they misinterpreted what this writer of this Mars email said. What he said was, quote, at a modest 75 power magnification, Mars will look as large as the full moon to the naked eye. Mars will be very easy to spot. Mars will be easy to spot. So that's what he said, at a modest 75 power magnification. But in the email, there was also a graphic of the moon and Mars, and they both look identical in the picture. But he was trying to explain that Mars is going to be so close to Earth at this point, you can actually go out with your telescope or whatever, in 75 magnification, you can see Mars. It'll look the same size as the moon. So when people started forwarding that email around, they kind of overlooked the part where he said, at a modest 75 power magnification.
Yes.
They completely overlooked that. So they glossed over that, as Mike Wall here says, and they just believe that Mars is the same size as the moon in the sky. So I actually got a message on my Facebook page a couple days ago by our listener named Travis, who wrote me and said, is this even true? I'm going to go outside and check this out. And I said, no, Mars is not the same size as the moon. And I sent him a quick article about something that disputed it and everything. And I found this later, this space.com article. I didn't realize it has been popping up for so long. I knew it sounded familiar when I heard it again, but I didn't realize it was the same day every year for the last 12 years.
Yeah.
So that's what happened there. So here's what Mike Wall says, though, on space.com. He said, so what will Mars look like in the sky tonight? Talking about back on August 27th. He said, what will Mars look like in the sky tonight? In a word, ordinary. He said, the red planet is about 7 times farther from Earth and about 70 times fainter in the sky than it was in August 2003. He said, you might even need binoculars to find the fourth planet from the sun tonight. So, yeah, it's not going to be the same size as the moon on that night or any night. And if it is, then it's the apocalypse.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to skip over this next story and just go right to us reviewing the first episode of Fear the Walking Dead.
Okay.
On this show, on Strange Frequencies Radio, we talk about the paranormal, we talk about pop culture, we talk about true crime, we talk about like pop horror occasionally. Yeah. And The Walking Dead is definitely like a pop horror show. It's the biggest show on television.
Yeah.
And any show that gets that big of ratings is going to have some type of spin-off, probably.
Right.
I think it was probably a bad idea to do the spin-off, but I haven't been a big fan of The Walking Dead the last couple of years. But I watched Fear the Walking Dead, the first episode, and I know you did.
I did.
You watched it like live.
I did.
And so, Bob, what'd you think of Fear the Walking Dead?
So as I was watching Fear the Walking Dead, I texted you right in the middle of it. I think because it was the first episode premiere. Yeah. And it was 90 minutes, so it was an hour and a half. And I think I texted you sometime during the middle. I was like, "This is fucking terrible," and I stand by that. Okay. I think it was horrendous.
All right.
It was boring. Everything that happened in that show. I mean, So there are fans of this show, no doubt, and a lot of them are actually friends of mine. Now, more people disliked it than liked it.
Yeah.
But I have to equate these people to the Taps true believers.
Are the people who love this episode, are they the Walking Dead?
Yeah.
Are they the mindless zombies?
Yes,
Okay.
because I can't believe that anybody was entertained by the show.
Okay.
It was 90 minutes and nothing happened, and then I would get these really weird excuses.
Yeah, I think when people really like a show, or they really want to like a show,
Yeah.
they don't want to admit that they didn't
Yeah.
like it, or they don't want to admit that there was anything wrong with it.
And I understand that because
Yeah.
I tried to convince myself that episode 1 was great.
I've done the same thing with things I've liked over the
Right.
years. So.
But as I'm watching this, this episode didn't have to be 90 minutes. What I thought they were going to do is I thought they were going to be like, okay, the first 60 minutes is going to be a drag, but the last half or maybe the last third of the show is going to pick up, and we're going to get something awesome. That never happened.
You never got the pickup that you were expecting.
And so I was saying things that people was like, why? I don't agree with this. It has to start slow.
Yeah, a lot of people said it's a pilot episode, so it has to start slow.
I don't get that because the first 5 minutes there's a fucking zombie eating people.
Yeah, right. That's what I remember telling that to you. In the first scene, a zombie is eating someone's face or whatever. So
what do you mean start slow?
Yeah.
It started strong.
That
I was
was
like,
the
all right,
strongest thing in the episode.
Yeah, this is okay. We're gonna go right to it.
Yeah.
And what I thought that was gonna be, I thought it was gonna be like patient zero.
Right.
And they were gonna somehow start explaining
Yeah.
it from there. We didn't get shit.
Now, I do think that because this is a prequel, and because this is like the show starts before the zombie apocalypse or whatever has actually begun, I do think to an extent it can't start off with like in the middle of zombie warfare or whatever.
Right,
I
sure.
get that. And I
Right.
get that to a point it does have to have some build up.
Yeah.
And maybe we have to think of the whole season as like build up to later or something. But yeah, I didn't like the episode either. I know that your hatred for the first episode may know no bounds.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I have plenty of things that I can go
Yeah,
over
you
for
feel
things
free,
that
yeah.
don't make sense.
Okay.
So, the wardrobe pissed me off.
You're talking about that guy's shirt?
Yeah, the guy's shirt.
I told you last week, I said the only thing I know about this show, I didn't know much about it. I hadn't seen many of the trailers. I hadn't read any articles about it. I was trying to go in kind of,
Yeah.
fresh or whatever. So all I really seen was one teaser.
Yeah.
And it was a teaser of this guy in a stupid ass shirt. It had like long sleeves, but like only like halfway up his back in the back. It was like the body part was like for a kid. And
Damn, it scared me.
The body of the shirt was for a child, and the rest of it was for like a 7-foot tall man or whatever.
So all right. So I'm gonna go ahead and state right now. Spoiler alert. So if anybody's listening right now, you might not want to listen if you want to catch the first episode.
You haven't seen the episode yet. What's wrong with you?
Yeah. So because there's things that I have to get into that I don't know made sense. So first of all, even if it started slow and they wanted to do like character build up, I didn't care about any of these characters.
Okay, yeah, I agree.
So like I was telling my cousin Al's one of these guys, like, I actually liked it. I go, but let me ask you this. When you first watched The Walking Dead, the very first episode, and you found Rick and everything,
Yeah.
and you immediately connect with Rick somehow.
Right, yeah.
And you have this character, you have this emotional connection with the character. I had that with nobody. He goes, well, neither did I. I go,
How did you like the show?
what
part of the show did you like?
Yeah, I was like, so I go, anybody like, so like, now when you watch The Walking Dead, you've grown to like these characters. So when they die, you're like, oh. At any point in time, any one of these characters could have died. And
Yeah.
I wouldn't have cared because
Right.
I hate to sound like this. So one of the main characters is a junkie.
Yes.
Okay, so I didn't care, and they did these false lead-ups that never landed.
Okay.
So like there was this one scene where they had to strap him down in the bed.
Yeah, I
And he was in a room with another guy, which I don't understand why in a hospital he is detoxing next to another guy that's dying of heart failure.
Because we need him for the later scene.
Yeah.
So we need to have him there.
So, he's strapped down and you know that the guy next to him is going to die. As he starts dying, I thought when the nurses come running in that he's going to jump up and eat faces.
Yeah.
And then he has one arm free to hurry up and try and get out. Doesn't fucking happen.
Yeah.
It's a false lead up. I don't understand why the parents went back to this location and know that people were killed and never called the authorities.
Yeah, right. Or the kid says that somebody got their face eaten in this church, and they just go there. They go in there, and the one guy goes there in the middle of the night.
He goes in the middle of
the night. I'm going to go check it out.
Yeah, he goes checks it out. He sees blood and
doesn't
guts
make
laying on the
sense,
ground
yeah.
and then leaves.
Yeah.
And then comes back with the mother.
Yeah. It's just dumb. I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't make any sense.
It didn't make
it's not
any
believable.
sense.
It's not even believable.
Yeah. And then there's another scene at the end where he's meeting up with what you think is like his best friend, but ends up being a guy that he's obviously selling or buying drugs from. Now, mind you, this kid he's been detoxing, so you're extremely weak. He was hit by a fucking car, and somehow he overpowers a person that's in good health, big buff dude, and he fucking just overpowers him. And then he runs him over with a car with the parents in the car, and neither of them are like even fazed by it.
Yeah.
They're like, "Oh, you just ran that guy over."
Yeah, like, oh, well, yeah. So yeah, there were things like that.
It was horrendous.
So I agree with everything you said right there. I mean, I definitely didn't care about the characters. Anytime I watch a series, you want to identify in some way with the characters, or at least care about them in some way.
Right.
You want to care about your protagonists because they're the ones whose story you're going to be following throughout the series. And at least in this first episode, and I know episode 2 airs tonight. I'll be watching episode 2.
I'll watch episode 2.
From what I understand from critics who have received, advanced copies of episodes, in episode 2, the story does pick up more. And that's fine. Like I said, I understand to a degree it can't start off like, in the middle of a zombie apocalypse. Right. I get that. It's supposed to be a prequel. But I was expecting more action, I guess.
It left me with more questions than answers. And I understand that, hey, maybe they don't know what's going on, but there was just like these really weird cliffhangers, I guess, that didn't land for me. Like the one girl is texting her boyfriend, like, "Where are you? Why aren't you in school?" Okay.
Okay.
The principal looked like Barack Obama.
Right.
I thought he did.
I remember that guy now.
And of course, they had like a false thing, like where you thought he was going to be dead and be a zombie.
Oh, I remember that.
But the only thing that I enjoyed was the kids at school circling around a cell phone watching a video, because that's exactly what would be happening right now.
Yeah, and they did portray a zombie being shot a bunch of times by cops. Right.
Right.
Like there was like the whole tie-in, I guess, to what we're seeing now in a way. Although I kind of wish the zombie would have been black to make that tie-in even stronger.
Yeah.
So you could say like they're shooting an unarmed black man or whatever.
Yeah. I
wish they kind of would have made that stronger, made a stronger connection to that. But maybe they were afraid people would riot or be really upset if they did that. So maybe that's why they didn't. But I see what they were going.
But
for
you know
there,
what?
so
They
that
made the
sense
black
to
guy
me.
the drug dealer. So
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so people are going to be angry about that. So yeah. All in all, I can't say I like the show.
Yeah,
I can't say I'm excited for episode 2.
I mean, I
based
gave
on
it a
episode
3
one.
out of 10, man.
Okay.
A 3 out of 10.
I can't really disagree with that.
It was. I just checked the chat room, and Cthulhu said he said, "I agree with everything Bobby just said. It sucked donkey balls. It really did. It was so boring. It did not need to be 90 minutes.
I know that some of you out there liked it, and good for you. I'm glad you did. I can say that we didn't. I can't say I'm excited now for episode 2. I'm going to watch episode 2. I'm going to try to get through all 6 episodes. But if episode 2 is as bad as episode 1 was, and episode 2 is supposed to be the one where the critics are saying the story picks up, and I'm still not entertained at all or not interested in the characters, then I think that's it for me.
Well, sorry. I would think that. All right. So every series has the boring episodes.
You got to give me something.
And I would think that you want to start this. So the writers of this are the same writers of The Walking Dead. So I would think you wanted to give me something strong to start off with.
Yeah, I don't even know who the writers are. I know that the creator is.
Oh, the creator. Okay,
the same creator, but I don't know.
Maybe
if
it's not the same writers.
I don't think it's the same showrunner, and I don't even know about the writers. I'm not positive. But
And I just wish I would have gotten something stronger. I don't understand what the flu has to do with anything. A bunch of people missing from school.
Okay.
Because there's a flu.
At least that's what they think it's the flu, or
Is it really just? Are they really just getting the flu, or is there like a virus coming over, and then some people are immune to it, and then if you just die after that, then you become one, or I don't know.
I think so. Yeah, I don't know though. So we'll see.
Anyway,
I do think that if they're going to do a prequel series, they do have to say how this all started.
And you know what's funny about that is that I'm one of these people where I'm 6 seasons into The Walking Dead.
Right.
I've already accepted that the zombie apocalypse has happened. I don't need a backstory.
Yeah, I agree. I don't need one, but I just think if you're going to do a prequel, you almost have to.
Yeah.
You almost have to explain it. Then.
Yeah.
You have to give them something, but at the same time.
And if it turns out that it's some airborne virus or it's a fucking this hip drug that's going around everybody, I'm gonna be like, this is fucking stupid. It may actually kill my like for The Walking Dead if it's not explained to my satisfaction.
Yeah.
And I understand that sounds very conceited or whatever.
You are the one that has to be satisfied to watch the shows.
And I'm not saying that my standard is everybody else's standard, but if it's not my satisfaction, it could kill the series for me. Oh. And that's why I just thought going back and doing prequels is dangerous.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the prequel stuff, but I think if they do a prequel, they almost have to explain what started it, or else
Yeah.
you're just watching the same show twice.
And that might be that might be where
maybe
they're
that's what they
going.
wanna do, yeah.
Maybe they're just going to show you what happened and not give you an
Yeah.
explanation. They're
But at the
just
same time, if the people in Los Angeles in the prequel know what's going on, like you would hope that by now, 6 seasons into the regular
Yeah.
Walking Dead, Rick would have heard through the
Yeah.
grapevine somewhere what would have
right, yeah.
happened. But
And I'm trying to figure out so there was this one scene. So the characters are a teenage girl who hates her family. The mother is like a school therapist who has
Yeah.
remarried a guy who's a substitute teacher, I
he's like
believe,
a teacher there, yeah.
who has another son that lives with the mom that wants nothing to do with him.
Yeah,
Did I
so
get
it's
this
like-
right?
Something like that. Yeah, I
Yeah.
can't say specifically, but that sounds about right. It's like a blended family type
Yeah.
thing where you got the guy with the kids, the mom with the kids, the Brady Bunch,
Yeah.
only with zombies.
Yeah.
Is
And
what they're
I
gonna be
did
doing.
not care about any one of these
I
people.
didn't care about him. Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I kept saying,
I hate these people.
I hope he gets eaten.
yeah, right.
Because there's like a scene where he gets. But what I was gonna bring up is like there's a scene where the mother, who's like a therapist at the school, who's like a school therapist,
Yeah.
is talking to this kid with a knife, and this kid is like, they're not telling us the whole story.
Yeah.
Like he seems like some
Yeah,
dorky.
He found it out on the internet that something's going on.
Something's going on.
And
So
everyone's like, I don't believe you.
and I wish they would have focused more on what he knew.
Yeah.
He just says it in passing and then it's done.
Yeah, and they don't show him again until he's in the bus later, giving the weird look or whatever.
It's very confusing.
It is. He found it out on the internet. No one else seems to have any idea
nobody-
what's going
yeah,
on.
Yeah. It was a terrible episode.
I can't say I loved it, but
Yeah.
I'll be watching
will be
episode
too,
2
yeah.
tonight to see if I like it any better.
It's very possible that episode 2 could be like a redemption episode, or at least it will keep me interested to see what happens next week.
Okay, yeah. So
Um,
we'll see.
But like I know that Lou loved it.
Lou did. Lou loved it.
I have like a 13-year-old cousin that commented on my page.
Oh yeah. See, I didn't know that was your cousin. At
And
first.
basically, he's young, so
Yeah.
I'll give him a pass. But basically, he was like, "You're not a true fan if you did not love this episode."
Yeah. It's like then I'm not a true fan.
Then I'm not a true
Jeez.
fan, yeah,
If
'cause
that's the if,
Yeah.
if that's what it all comes down
Yeah,
to.
I mean, because I only like 4 out of the 6 Star Wars movies, and
Yeah.
the other 2 are just absolute garbage.
but you're not a true fan.
So if that's like my qualifications, I have to like them all equally.
yeah, I guess.
Then
So.
I'm not a true Star Wars fan, and I don't understand why questions have to be answered. And
Yeah.
I said I had the same complaints in Star Wars, like we had to find out where Boba Fett came from.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
I was perfectly fine with just him being a mysterious badass.
Yeah.
Just like I'll be perfectly fine if I never found out why
Because-
the zombie apocalypse happened.
Because there's more money to be made.
Yep.
Pretty soon they'll be doing a sequel to The Walking Dead. So.
Well, what I thought this was going to be is I thought this was going to be another series that started at the same time when Rick gets shot, and we're
Okay.
just going to follow them through their own different journey across the country.
Yeah. Basically, eventually, I guess that's what it's going to be. But
If it makes it.
yeah, if it makes it, I mean, I'm sure I think it scored high ratings.
I would like. Well, of course it
Yeah,
did. I mean,
it did, and it probably will for the next 6 weeks. So it's already been renewed for season 2. So they're going to have a second season.
Oh, so
yeah.
that's for sure.
Yeah, I think they did that before it even started. They were like, "We're
Okay.
giving this 2 seasons." So
Okay,
the
because-
6 episodes of season 1 and the however many for season 2.
Because I even thought the zombies looked different.
Yeah, I mean they haven't really fully decayed yet. I guess I don't. Think.
Right, but still, when you're watching the show, you're watching people that die right there, and then they wake up an hour or 10 minutes later as a zombie,
Yeah.
so they're not decayed at all, and they look different. Like these zombies have like pearly white or like really sky blue eyes.
LA zombies, Bob.
And that was another thing that I read a critic review.
Surfer zombies.
Yeah, I was reading another review where somebody was like, "We get it, guys. You're in fucking LA.
Yeah, everything.
Stop it."
Yeah. I know there was like 15 examples of look, we're in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Look, we're like just beating you over the head about it. Yeah, we get it. You're in LA.
We get it." So
All right. So we're going to take a break now. We will come back at the top of the next hour with Anna Hill. We're very excited to be talking to her, so that should be fun.
I'm gonna talk some shop.
Talk some shop. Yeah, that's
some
what we
shop.
do. All right. So stay tuned, and when you hear the music, we'll be back.
Yeah, and I wanted to say real quick that if people are watching this video on YouTube,
Okay.
should I actually upload it?
Okay.
There's probably going to be a few minutes of nothing because I can't
Okay.
turn the camera off and then
Okay.
restart it.
All
So
right.
you're gonna have to have a couple minutes of nothing. So
You
we'll
will
be back
actually
in about-
experience the break with us.
Yeah. So go make a sandwich.
Yes.
So we'll be right back.
All right. right, welcome back to the show. On the phone right now, we have Anna Hill. Anna is an independent paranormal investigator based out of California, and she has contributed to blogs like Doubtful News. You may have seen her article on there about ghost apps, and we're going to be talking to her about. See, me and Bob like to talk about shop
Yeah,
occasionally.
we
See,
talk
we're
shop.
we're not in the paranormal investigating anymore. Anna still is, so we're talking to her today. Anna, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
It is so great to talk to you. We've known each other for a while now. You have apparently known me longer than I've known you.
Yeah, I think that's safe to say.
That's probably safe to say, and good for you. But
Where's my apology?
yeah, right. All right. So I guess the first thing I really want to ask you then, since we've never really spoken about your own interest in the paranormal, is like how you got started. How did you get interested in this crazy subject?
Basically, just being a kid and having all kinds of weird crap going on. I grew up with two older brothers that were into sci-fi and horror, so that kind of put me out there with just kind of weird stuff, horror movies and all that.
Yeah.
But as a kid, about the age of 8, I developed sleep paralysis.
Ooh.
And I didn't really realize what was happening to me until I was about 23 years old. Watching the Montel Williams show, turned out that I was watching a program on night terrors, and it turned out that whatever I was experiencing had a rational explanation.
You are the first person I've ever heard that said Montel Williams helped them do anything
I
correct
know,
in
right?
life.
I know. And back then, I'll tell you what, I was there for Sylvia Brown. How scary is that?
I used to watch Sylvia Brown back on Montel. There's no shame in it.
Yeah.
So yeah, sleep paralysis. That's interesting because I know Bobby, you suffer
I
with sleep
suffer
paralysis
from
as well.
chronic sleep paralysis. Actually, I get it about 3 times a month.
Awesome.
It's
See?
fun now because I can actually, I don't want to say control it, but I can actually feel like I'm conscious enough to say, pay attention to what's on the TV, because when I snap out of it, either the TV's going to be off or it's not going to be the same thing on television, or I'm actually able to say, if you just relax, this will be over in a few minutes.
Exactly. The same thing with me, and actually you're the first one I've heard of that has it that frequently. I have gone through periods in time where I could have it up to 3 to 4 times a week. And as a kid, I grew up. I'm an '80s kid. We didn't have the internet. We couldn't hop on the internet
Right.
and Google our symptoms. But no, I had the strange figure at the end of my bed and the whole pressure on my chest and
Wow.
feeling like I was being attacked and the whole 9 yards. So as far as I was concerned, this was a paranormal occurrence. I had no reason to doubt it. What I was feeling was real. I knew I wasn't crazy. Tried to talk to my parents about it, and of course they thought I was crazy. But this day and age, we have the internet. We should be able to figure these things out. But it seems that a lot of people can't.
Yeah,
I don't know why, but
back then it was so much more difficult. And now that we know you and Bobby both experienced this, now we
Yes.
know Strange Frequencies Radio brings people together. It
It's
does.
true.
It brings people together. All right. So for me, I didn't even have I always hear people got into the paranormal because they had an experience or something they couldn't explain. And mine's so totally different. Mine is just I watched a lot of Unsolved Mysteries when I was a kid, and I just seen the stories and read the books and everything. And I just believed it was real. When did you start actually investigating and going out and trying to capture evidence of ghosts and everything else?
Well, I have to admit, I went into investigations as a total believer.
Yeah.
I started at about, I'm not even sure, I want to landmark it at 5 years ago.
Okay.
Ghost Hunters was out there, Ghost Adventures, all this stuff was happening, and I had some strange things that were going on, but I never really understood completely what I was experiencing. I've had some experiences that could be considered sensitive experiences, precognitive type dreams, and this sort of thing. So I started my own team about 5 years ago called Angels of Light Paranormal Society. And since then, I don't know, I just, hanging out with Kenny and Lou and, of course, you and other people out there, started researching a little bit more into the skeptical side of things, read into Joe Nickel quite a bit.
Okay.
Started realizing that, again, a lot of the things that I experienced had rational explanations. So that's kind of been my goal, is to kind of put the information out there that was given to me and try to help people see that there are rational explanations out there. Not everything that we experience, no matter how real it is to us, have rational explanation.
So where are you at now in your journey of truth? Do you believe that paranormal occurrences actually still do happen, though very rare, or that it most likely doesn't exist at all?
My audio's really bad. I can barely hear you guys. I'm not sure I even heard the question correctly.
How's that? Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. So I
Sorry
was
about that.
no, that's my
It's
fault.
whatever it is, it's always going to be our fault. Just remember
Yes.
that.
Well,
Yes.
so what was it again? That
I was just wondering where you're at now in your journey of truth. Do you believe that paranormal occurrences do happen, or are you pretty skeptical about all claims of the paranormal?
I'm more skeptical of people than I am of the actual chances of there being paranormal out there. I do believe that there is something strange out there. You know, is it geological, aliens, ghosts? I have no idea. I think that there's a good possibility that something's going on out there that we haven't tapped into yet, but I would say definitely 99% of paranormal claims that I've looked into have logical explanation. It's just a matter of perception, misidentification, and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I can say like we started investigating Bob. What me and you probably like 7 or 8 years ago or something, and
Yeah.
and we started out the same as you, Ann. I mean, we started out we totally believed, and it wasn't until like later us questioning ourselves, then finding like skeptical information online and in books and everything that where we started doubting anything at all. It was like it's a process. Like, it's definitely not something that happens overnight. It's like little by little you start shedding different things. Like for us, I remember like at least at one point like EMF, like we would go into a room and put the EMF meter down, like a digital EMF meter, and like talk to the ghost out loud like it's a puppy or whatever. Like, come on, you can move the number, that kind of thing. And we would believe that was real. And then we started thinking like, well, wait a minute, what does that really mean? And we would look that up, and then maybe our minds would get changed a little bit there. Then we would kind of like we started doubting EVP a little bit and all that. And like it wasn't for like like at least several years before we really said, you know what, we don't think there's anything at all going on, because we would go to these people's houses or go to places where activity was supposed to happen, and every time we would go into a home, the homeowner would say something like, I don't know what you guys have captured before, but this house is really haunted. This is
Oh
going to be
yeah.
the most activity you've ever found. And I'm sure you've probably heard similar things, and then you stay there for hours on end, you do repeat visits or whatever, and nothing ever happens that's weird at all. So,
Right.
so like you said, sometimes you can be more suspicious of the people. And I don't, not that I think that those people were lying or whatever. I just think that people misperceive everyday occurrences. Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, I think most people that have paranormal claims are honest people. They're just
Yeah.
not seeing the bigger picture. And I'm not totally against paranormal teams. For the most part, I would say a lot of them are just trying to do Ghost Adventures,
Yeah.
live version. But there are good teams out there that are actually trying to help people find the truth. That's one of the things I try to do when I was with the paranormal team is not going out there to find the ghost, but to find out what is causing what people were perceiving as paranormal.
Yeah. So
I did stop doing all that. I left my team at the beginning of the year because, just to me, the whole ghost hunting thing just started to feel really hokey. I was on a case recently where these people were absolutely 100% convinced that they were having paranormal occurrences. The wife stepped aside and said, look, I think my husband's doing this for attention,
Wow.
and he's trying to scare me into staying because her husband had been killed in the home via suicide, and he kept saying that he was seeing the ghost of her ex-husband. And I don't know, I
wow.
just kind of started looking at it, and I started seeing a really ugly side of people. People were getting mad at me because I wasn't finding their ghost when I was just trying to be honest, and it just became absolutely just grueling to even just pick up my case and head out the door and try to help people. Nobody wants to hear the truth, it seems. Everybody wants the ghost story. They want the attention.
Yeah.
Yeah, and actually, we can mirror that same exact thing. When you would go to somebody's house, they really just want you there to confirm that they have a ghost, rather than actually give them an explanation that they're going to listen to or not. But I actually wanted to know. So you say that you know a lot of teams, or teams, and your team, you would go to locations to try and figure out what was going on instead of labeling something paranormal. So my question would be, what did you do when you guys couldn't find the rational explanation off the top of your head?
I can't even answer that because I really don't feel that ever really happened. One of the things with our team, everybody was really into EVP, and just like what you guys were just saying, I just started questioning that. At first, I was really into the EVP, and every time I got something, it doesn't matter how clear it was or how clear it wasn't. I noticed that we were kind of getting really excited about this, and I just started looking at them, and I started thinking about different things, and I started talking to different people about auditory pareidolia, different microwaves, all this different stuff, and I just all of a sudden I was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. So even when, at one point I will say that I made the mistake. I was one of those people. I'm very straightforward. I always highlight my own errors. That way other people can learn from what I've done wrong and how I've grown from that. There was a point. I have told people that I felt that their home was haunted. Now, when I look back on it, I regret that. I wish I wouldn't have done that. I wish I would have gone for the second visit or the third visit, just to keep trying to figure out what things were. But it got to the point where I didn't believe in anything that was happening or anything that even I was experiencing. So it kind of got to the point where I was getting to be pretty cynical. I just wasn't telling anybody anything except for that I didn't find anything, and it wasn't the help that they were looking for.
Yeah, and if you hear phantom dog barks in the background, those aren't actually dogs. Those are
those are the phantom dogs.
Those are phantom dogs.
The hounds from hell.
No, but let's see, where can we go from this? So you said that you were becoming cynical. Is that around the time where you felt that you needed to stop and take a break from the paranormal scene, or start working on your own? Because I have to imagine that working with somebody that who has a team who's strictly focusing on things like EVP, and you're one of the probably odd people out that think this is a load of crap. Yeah. It has to feel isolating.
It is, and it's, there's times I just want to say, F it, I'm out of here, I'm not doing this anymore. But then, like, I stop and think, and I'm like, okay, well, there's got to be other people out there that feel the way I do. There's got to be other people that are kind of on that fence of, I want to believe, I do believe that there's something out there, but at the same time, I'm questioning everything that's ever happened to me. I get a lot of negative feedback. I get a lot of, I don't like to use the term haters because that sounds really cliche and kind of like, oh, poor me. But I do get a lot of negative backlash for the way I am, because people have seen me as a paranormal investigator who was a believer, and now they're seeing me kind of, I guess they look at it like backpedaling or being hypocritical, that all of a sudden Anna's promoting, no, this isn't an orb, or no, this is photography, or no, this. Yeah. I think this whole thing really started to be where I just kind of was like, okay, I'm really put off by the paranormal. It probably happened about a year ago, but I stuck with it, stuck with the team, kept trying to think, okay, well, I know that people need people like me that are trying to be honest and explain to them why things are happening or why things are not happening. But finally, just at the beginning of the year, I realized I was really unhappy. I just could not do it anymore. The whole black T-shirt, arms crossed,
right,
posing in pictures. I just see that and I get really pissed off.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
What the fuck are you guys doing?
I know.
This is horrible. I didn't want to be a part of it anymore, so I just quit.
Yeah, I mean, Bobby and I, we literally lost friends over it, because I think belief systems, whether they're religious in nature or paranormal in nature, whatever, I mean, they become like an emotional aspect of someone's personality. And when you're all in a group or a clique or whatever, that revolve around that particular belief, and then one or two of the people in that group start backing away from that belief system, there is a backlash. Yeah, definitely. We've definitely had people who just aren't our friends anymore because of that, because we would argue about certain things more, I guess, more viciously than we would at one time. And to further your point here, I remember a Facebook status you posted. It was just about a week ago, where you said something like, I can't remember exactly what you put, but it was something to the effect of like, I'm coming to the conclusion that you're moving away from the ghost hunting thing, that it just doesn't feel right anymore. You try to get involved more in the community, and the more you try, the less you feel like you belong to it. And
right.
We feel, we've felt the exact same way. I mean, it can be tough even sometimes being part of a skeptical community, honestly, but I think any community is difficult. But yeah, especially the ghost hunting community, especially because it's based around like a positive belief system that ghosts are real, and that, X, Y, and Z means that ghosts, are happening at this location. And when you have the doubter there or whatever, there's a backlash, and it does get isolating.
Well, Well, skepticism has such a negative connotation with the paranormal community.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of one of those things. It's like I don't feel like I fit in with the believers, but I don't quite fit in with the complete skeptics either. I'm like always balancing the two, and it's not easy to do.
Yeah.
I have a lot of friends, of course, who are just absolute devout believers, but at the same time, they respect me in what I do. They understand that I'm trying to improve the paranormal community, which totally seems like I'm fighting a battle in vain, like it's
Right.
never going to happen. People are never, ever going to see the complete, honest truth about different subjects that are out there.
Yeah.
It's difficult, but then something will pop up, and I'll remember why I'm here too. I do a lot of work trying to help people recognize ghost apps. I have a Facebook page called Ghost App Ghost. And that's fighting deliberate fraud. That's not just trying to debunk a dust orb or a light tracer in a photograph. I mean, apps are fraud. I mean, there's people that are fooled by them, but the people that are using them, that sort of thing is what kind of keeps me moving, because I feel that there are honest people out there that are trying to do the right thing, and then you've got these buttholes out there that are just making the job more difficult on everybody. I feel like that more people need to speak up against that stuff, and I think that's just kind of what keeps me driven.
Well, I wonder where you stand on individuals that have their, I guess, their quote-unquote hearts in the right spot, but they are just passing along misinformation to people that live in houses. That's where I get hung up. I get hung up on investigators that claim that they're doing the right thing, and I have no reason to doubt that they think they're doing the right thing, but they're going to tell a person that's already terrified that, yeah, you do have ghosts. All right, see you later.
Right. With that, I just try to promote education and try to promote critical thinking. I try not to get too mad. I don't know how deep I should get into this subject, but there's one individual that's out there that I have a really hard time with that claims to be doing the right thing, is all love and light, but he's out there promoting within 24 hours after a celebrity dies that, he's talking to these dead celebrities, and there's people who make the argument that he believes that he's doing that, but at the same time, he's promoting, likes and, I've got 1 million followers on my YouTube and blah, 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 blah. It just looks bad. It looks like you're doing this just because that's what people want. People want the ghost story. As far as people that their heart is in the right place, I just keep trying to direct them into the right way. I mean, people are going to do what they're going to do. I was once a believer, and I believe that people have to learn on their own terms, but it is really difficult when people are going into other people's homes. We owe it to them to do a good job and not just push our own beliefs on somebody else. We need to try to do our due diligence to make sure that we're leading them on the path to truth. And it is hard. I've clashed with quite a few people on that type of thing.
Sure. So when it comes to somebody that claims that they have something like some type of psychic or medium ability, the individual that you're referencing, I don't know who it is, but I would say something along the lines when I first started becoming more skeptical. I'm always one of these individuals that say something along the lines that if you have an ability like that, you should be able to prove it. It should be testable. So, right. I mean, psychics, they always have a chance to win $1 million from the James Randi Educational Foundation. But for some reason, when the ability comes under scrutiny or has to be tested, they either A, lose the ability for that short period, or your skeptical vibes are blocking them. And to me, that's a red flag as to you probably don't really possess these powers.
Right.
So I was just wondering, why not try to get people that, just because I don't care if you have 1 million views on YouTube. I care whether or not you can deliver what you say you can, and I want to see it done in a controlled setting. And if they won't do it, wouldn't you agree that there's something to hide there?
Yeah, I that's kind of a hard one for me too. I mean, I don't know, because I don't feel that I have any kind of psychic ability. But when the whole thing, like with empaths, started coming through, and I started looking at different people, were like, oh, okay, well, if you can do this, then this might be an empathic ability. I started noticing some of the things, especially from my childhood, that would happen that kind of creep me out. I mean, I don't know why I was able to do certain things or sense certain things. but then I started looking at, okay, well, what if it's something more geological? What if certain things and whatever's happening in space or the atmosphere causes people to have heightened senses, not necessarily paranormal, but just senses that just make us more aware of things that are going on. I've had strange things happen. I would love to have somebody who's totally unbiased look at what I've gone through and help me figure it out. I think where the problem occurs is when people cannot be convinced the other way that, okay, well, have you ever thought maybe this is happening or that? They're already convinced, and there's no changing their mind that, yes, they are a medium or, yes, they're an empath or a psychic.
Yeah.
I think when you claim to be something, I think that comes with a huge responsibility. If somebody wants to test your ability, why not jump on board? Why not be part of the study and try to figure it out? As far as them not be able to prove anything in a controlled setting, I have no answer for that.
Sure.
Because honestly, I'm not too much of a scientist, but you know, I can't imagine. I've thought about it, and I don't know how we can prove somebody to be psychic or not. I don't know how we could do that in a controlled setting.
And you know, there are people that'll come up with tests, and you know, you sound like me 4 or 5 years ago. Actually, you sound like, when I was first, I was very much a true believer, and then when I started questioning things, and I could slowly feel the belief part of me fading away, and it's very. I don't know what you sort of feel like you've thrown away the last, you know, 10 years of your life away, but you start realizing other things. Like, I guess what I was saying is that because you had an experience, not you, but because somebody has an experience that they can't explain, doesn't mean that it's not explainable. Even if somebody can't provide you with a solution to that situation that you find, you know, adequate to accept, I guess, it doesn't make those experiences then paranormal because you can't explain it. It may never be explainable,
Right.
But that doesn't mean that it's something that occurred outside of natural processes in nature.
I absolutely agree with you, and that's something that I've kind of have been going through the last couple of years, is looking back on things that have happened to me. And I mean, last year I had a really weird experience happen to me in Tonopah, Nevada. I wrote about it like days within like it happening. It was traumatic for me. I had felt that something had happened that could have been like a spiritual attack. And now when I look back on it, I'm just a questioner by nature. I look back at it and I'm thinking, well, what if I had like a little baby, not a stroke, but something happened in my brain chemically that misfired or something happened? I don't know what happened. At that moment, when it's fresh and things are happening, yeah, I'm more excitable about it, and
Sure.
I'm thinking, oh my God, yeah, this is something horrible that's happened to me. But now I'm looking back on it, I don't have an answer for what happened. It's just unexplained to me at this
Right.
point. That doesn't mean unexplained as in like a major supernatural experience or
Yeah.
anything, but you know, I think that it's all left up to perception. When you're frightened or you know, not frightened, but just excited about something, I think your perception's really skewed at that point. And when you look back on it in hindsight, it's kind of easier to revisit that and make more sense of it, look at all the factors that are happening that maybe you didn't see at the time.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think anybody can look back on any event in life, whether they thought it was something paranormal or just something, you know, just average everyday things or whatever. When it first happens, it's like fresh in your mind and it's weird and you don't know what it was exactly. Then you look back, like, you know, even days later or months later or years later, and it's like it almost seems mundane sometimes when you look back on it. And it's so interesting talking to you about all this because, you know, just because we've gone through the same things, and honestly, in some ways, we're still going through it, and you know, in different ways. So I did want to ask you about this, though. And this is like totally off topic, but it's just like something to lighten the mood, I guess. Like, how the hell did you come across Lou? Lou is our West Coast correspondent.
Lou is my big brother. He's my big Mexican brother. Big Smiley, shout out. He's actually in chat right now.
Oh, I believe it.
Oh yeah.
I'm so
Lou
thinking
wouldn't
of
have missed this one.
Shout out to my brothers Kenny Biddle and Lou Castillo with Ghost and Geeks.
I
or Geeks and Ghosts.
I can
Oh, God,
understand
you
why
didn't
you'd
kill me
like
if I said
Kenny.
that wrong.
I can't understand why anybody likes Lou. Lou's my friend, and I don't even like him.
Lou's
How
going
about
crazy
you
in chat right now,
impossible?
I bet.
He's like the most likable guy in all of California, at least. At least.
Good stuff.
No, I ran across
Anna, I
those
liked you
guys.
up until now, and I'm kidding.
Jason will know. He'll remember this. I don't know if you were in on this, Bobby, but it was the Holy Grail. It was goners. That's how I
Yes.
ran into Lou and Kenny.
Okay.
It was this group in New England that were, oh boy, they were caught, or I don't know how you want to say it, but anyways, they're trying to pass off the what is it, the Bachelor
Yeah, the
Bachelor's
Grove
Ghost,
yeah.
of Bachelor Grove. It was a ghost app, and it was in a restaurant, and they were trying to say it was paranormal.
Right,
And,
yeah, I
oh my
remember
God.
that.
All hell broke loose.
Yes, it
and
did.
of course, this is like when ghost apps just started, you know?
I think we did a whole show dedicated to this.
Oh, boy, yeah. And I think that's about the point I started following Jason, too, because the whole Bent Spoon website and everything, it kind of came up right about that time
The
for
bent
me.
spoon.
But, no, I don't know. They cracked me up. They were skeptical, but at that time I still kind of on the verge of like not quite being a complete believer, but I was just starting to really see that the paranormal community was just, I'm sorry, but it was just crap.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
A big facade, you know?
So let's talk about ghost apps then a little bit more. You said you have a Facebook page, and I think you said it was called Ghost App Ghosts, right?
Right.
And that Goner story had to do with a ghost app in a way because they were putting a Bachelor's Grove ghost on into like a bar or whatever, or somebody
yeah,
did
like
anyway. And they
Coronas
passed it
around
off.
her or something.
Yeah. So how often do you see that now? Like that people take ghost images from these ghost apps that you can download right on your smartphone, and then imprint into just a regular image somewhere, and it gets passed off as legitimately proof positive, like holy grail evidence of a full-bodied apparition.
Every single day.
Oh man! See, we don't
Every
even pay
single
it that
day.
much attention anymore,
Yeah, I
and
don't pay
I
attention
know that
that
since
much
you
anymore.
focus on it, you see it a lot more than we do. So like every day this is happening.
Yeah, people are like, Anna, why are you so cynical? I think Lou's actually the one who's like, sis, we got to talk. What's going on? Are you like becoming like a complete skeptic? How come you don't, believe anymore? And I'm like, I don't know what's going on with me, but because Lou and I are kind of exactly the same, like where we stand on skepticism and believing. I think he said it best. I've just become disenchanted. You believe something. It's like finding out Santa Claus doesn't exist or the Easter Bunny doesn't exist. All of a sudden you're just like, oh my God, all these people are running around me and they're telling me that Santa Claus and Easter Bunny exist, and I'm showing them proof that it's not, that they don't exist, and nobody's listening to me. It's.
But you want to know something funny about that? That analogy that you used, because I felt the same exact way. But what's the truth about Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny? They don't exist.
Right.
And my belief left my body kicking and screaming. I did not want to give up belief. And I'm not outside or opposed to the idea or the possibility of that's what people may not understand about skeptics, is that most of us, and Jason included, we don't say that ghosts can't exist. It very well could exist, but there has to be a proper way to approach things. You don't come up with a conclusion first and then form a hypothesis around it. You have to come up with the hypothesis first, and if sadly, if the evidence doesn't support it, we have to reserve it until the evidence can support it. And unfortunately, that's going to be proven by scientists. It's not going to be proven by anybody going to a house with cameras and recorders. I mean, that's just the way it is. So if people are out there looking for self-satisfaction or self-gratification, they have to stop saying that this is evidence of ghosts, because it's really not.
Right. Yeah, it's going back to kind of like the conversation we were just having about, where I feel about psychics and all this stuff and where my experiences have been. It's kind of like at this point I just look at it like ignorance is kind of like a choice nowadays.
Yeah.
I mean, the information's out there. It's just, are you willing to look for it?
Yeah.
Are you willing to be disappointed at the end of it when you realize that something probably is just something really obvious that you just missed. And a big part of it is just saying, you know what, I made an error. I messed up. I looked at it wrong or whatever.
Right.
But you learn from it.
Sure.
When you make a mistake, what have you turned it into? My mistakes, I've turned it into an opportunity to talk to other people about my mistakes. If you look at my blog, there's a lot of articles on there that are just like, you know what, I had to sit down and look at this today, and I just don't. I think I'm wrong. This is why I think I'm wrong, and I'll put it out there no matter what. Sometimes it feels really funny, like, you know, if you Google me, if you go back about 4 years ago, you're going to find all kinds of stuff that I thought was paranormal, and most people, I believe, would be trying to cover up their tracks. I don't want to do that. It's like, okay, I put this out there. This is where I was. This is where I am right now. I've made the choice not to be ignorant to facts. It's out there. I mean, anybody is more than welcome to Google me all day long and go back and look at all the mistakes I've made, but I've grown from it, and I think that's what's important.
No, I think you're doing a fantastic job at documenting that kind of stuff. You mentioned your blog. It's paranormalanna.blogspot.com.
Right.
Memento Mori.
That's right.
And bravo to you. I think that was the most beautiful thing people have said on the show in a very long time. That was absolutely fantastic. I applaud you for that type of mindset. So we like to go back on the show every once in a while and read old stuff that we wrote. Yeah. And I just get embarrassed to high hell because of the things that I supported and
said you believed.
And the thing that's funny about it is that, you know, I was sad as belief fell from me. And now I get sad when I go back and read what I believe. So the tables do turn. It's fantastic.
It's really weird, but
well, people in the paranormal community have a bad habit of going, "Oh, well, I see that you said this." Yeah, but I said that 3 years ago.
Right. The
person I am today is not the same person you're going to talk to in even a month from now.
Right.
I'm going to have a different look. I'm flexible. I'm willing to change my views for whatever information is presented. And that, to me, is where people make the biggest mistake in their research. Is, are you flexible to change your mind if new data is presented to you? And a lot of people aren't.
Yeah,
I mean,
and it's funny. Those same people will call themselves open-minded.
Arguments with over dust orbs.
Yeah,
and
no,
like,
you're
come
right.
on, guys. I mean, we've given you sufficient information. Why can't we get you to flex? And it's because they don't want to become disenchanted with it.
Yeah, and those same people that you're talking about, those are the ones who will say, "I'm open-minded."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're completely the opposite. And so, yeah, I try to do that same thing. Like, if I'm sure of a belief system I have, even now, it almost makes me uncomfortable because I think, like, if I'm so sure about this, I shouldn't be that sure about anything, really.
Right, yeah.
At least about a lot of things. So I should...
Until you have sufficient evidence to support it.
So I'm always trying to, like, you know... I change my mind a lot, honestly. My beliefs are constantly evolving, and I don't think that you can really be... you know, I don't know if you're really learning the right way if you're not doing that constantly. You should always be questioning yourself and questioning what you think. And
one thing that she said, and I'd like to talk about, is you're using the term research. And the thing that I noticed, even when I was still a believer in the paranormal community, is that people use this term research way too loosely. They think research is watching ghost television shows. Yeah. They have no idea of the history of the paranormal community, or what, you know, like things that they're doing now they think is new, but it's basically they're just reinventing the wheel. And I've always found that fascinating, that in the ghost hunting community, it's one of the only communities where you can claim to be an expert and know nothing about it.
Right.
Absolutely.
So
I agree. Or using your 30 years experience, but for 30 years you've been doing it the wrong way, so it really doesn't mean anything. Or using your combined experience with your entire team, that always cracks me up. Yeah, I agree with you.
We have a combined 75 years experience.
Yeah, we've got 45 years experience, but there's like 15 people on the team that have like had 3 years experience. No, and plus, you know, you've got to consider the sources too. You can do research on the internet, you know, reading one guy's blog that, you know, puts a good front out there, like a certain quote-unquote scientist out there with his wormhole theories talks a good game, and to somebody who may not understand the terminology, I mean, he sounds like he knows what he's talking about, but if you really read it, and if you're really familiar with paranormal research, I'm talking about real research, you'll see a lot of it is just regurgitated garbage.
Oh, absolutely.
That, you know.
Hey, I wrote an article that I don't even remember writing that we read on the show the other day, and I was doing the same crap. I'm sitting here telling that these items are what you need to be a paranormal investigator. I fucking brought up like Geiger counters.
Things we have never used.
That was never used, but I'm like, this is what you need.
this.
So,
Was hairspray and a lighter on there at least?
so
He had all kinds of, he also had like snacks.
Yeah. Make sure you bring a
man.
snack so you don't ghosts have a tendency to drain you from energy. You know? I'm like, Jesus.
So bring your trail mix.
Oh, isn't it horrible? Because in a way, you're like, okay, well, I have this reputation now. I don't want people to go back and read this and think that as I am today, that I still promote this. But at the same time, it's just like, it makes me feel good when I see some of the goofy stuff that I've put out there. I'm like, thank God I've grown. Thank God that, that it's different now.
And that's important because not many people in the paranormal community seem to grow.
Yeah.
And we've just discussed it, but there seems to be like once you get to a certain point, your mind is made up. This stuff is real.
Yeah.
Real evidence means absolutely nothing.
Yeah. So what kind of other stuff are you into aside from ghosting? I know that your blog Memento Mori, it's kind of like your whole I don't remember exactly the tagline on it, but it's basically about your fascination with the macabre.
Yeah.
What kind of other
macabre fixation? Yeah, it's kind of a modge podge of everything that kind of goes on in my head, which is really kind of a scary place. As a kid, like I was saying, I had a lot of strange things growing up with my brothers. There was times that when I would wake up in the middle of the night, it was sleep paralysis, but other times it was my brother in a mask trying to freak me out. I was just like a scared little kid. Everything scared the shit out of me. I was scared of the Elephant Man. I couldn't watch movies. I remember squeezing my eyes so hard, trying not to see like whatever was on TV. I was just just frightened. But at the age of 13, my mom passed away. She committed suicide. She is kind of a downer, but it's got a good ending. She had a drug overdose, and she was in a coma for a week. So, I was able to sit bedside with her. So every fear that I had about death, all of a sudden, it was just like I was facing it, and it was right there. All the gory details, the horrible things that happened, here it was. And, I don't know, something clicked in my brain some years later. Then I lost my dad to cancer. But anyways, I ended up using that for good. I ended up becoming a caregiver. I worked as a nursing assistant in the hospital. I worked everything from ICU to pediatrics. I've seen any kind of death that you can imagine. I probably have seen it. So with me, it was used as a good thing. I'm able to handle death really well. I've become a grief advocate for trauma victims. And I don't know, I just all of a sudden, the whole organics of death really fascinates me. It doesn't scare me at all. I think death is a beautiful thing. I think it's pretty cool. And from that, I've kind of developed a weird hobby. I collect, funerary items, the antique funerary items, to some really strange collectibles. So
awesome.
I've got a cabinet curiosity. Lou says you should probably ask me about that.
Oh my gosh, we are almost the same exact person here because I collect the same stuff. I have a bunch of mourning jewelry. I have a cabinet of curiosities myself. Maybe not old antique funeral items or things like that, but I definitely collect very weird things. That's very awesome. I didn't know anything. I didn't know that at all.
SFR brings people together.
I've got quite a few embalming bottles from the 1800s, early 1900s.
Did you smell
them? I
them?
collect quack medicine. The old, ozone machines, the ultraviolet machines that they would, it's basically just like a Tesla current inside of a thin glass envelope. They used it to cure all kinds of different stuff, or cure being used very loosely. And then I've got, I know that the guys are going to want me to tell you about this. I have a vibrator that's 7 pounds that was a model that was owned by Mark Twain. It's a 1924 model. That's kind of cool. I mean, I picked that up for $10.
Samuel Clemens, you dastardly dog.
Right? No, I got some pretty cool stuff, though.
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's fantastic.
Oh, man.
Lou says the damn thing looks like a muffler.
I guess that's where he got his sense of humor. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right.
That is
I just
fantastic.
love strange things. So.
Yeah, I guess so. So that's cool. So if people want to check out more about Anna, check out her blog Memento Mori. It's you can find that at paranormalanna.blogspot.com. Her ghost app Facebook page where she chronicles all the crazy ghost app ghosts she finds is called Ghost App Ghosts. So check that out as well. And it's been a real pleasure speaking with you. I mean, this is the first time we ever really got to speak, voice to voice or whatever you want to call it. But
I'd love to have you back on sometime.
Yeah, you're a
Absolutely.
fantastic
See, I'm a
person.
lot nicer, in person. People take me for everybody thinks I'm angry all the time on Facebook, but I'm really not.
All right. Well, no, I didn't get that impression at all that you're a bad person at all. It's fantastic speaking with you, and yeah, I hope you'll come back again sometime soon. Keep in touch, okay?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you very much. Take care.
All right. Bye.
All right, that was Anna Hill. Great to finally talk to her. I mean,
that was fun.
Yeah, we've been friendly with her on Facebook for a while, and just one of those people that like we've probably should have talked to a long time ago on the show, but like we get into our own we get in like hibernation mode where we don't book as many guests as we used to.
I found out it's like almost hard for me to book guests, but
it has become more difficult than it used to be. Yeah.
I'm talking to now because we wanted to go back with people that. Anna may be more of a skeptic now, but people that have some type of roots in the paranormal community.
Yeah.
So right now I'm talking to, and I'm probably going to get her on in the next couple weeks, Brett Butler.
Yeah, and
who is the star of the old comedy TV show Grace Under Fire. She played Grace.
Yeah.
I didn't know she was freaking psychic.
She's now
she claims to be a psychic.
She now is doing psychic readings.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I can only guess that this is happening because nobody's going to hire her anymore.
I'm guessing. I mean, yeah, when she lost the Grace Under Fire show, it was because she had substance abuse problems. I mean, she went a little nutsoid, but and she lost her series, which was a popular series from what I remember. And she does pop up from time to time in different sitcoms or on different shows or whatever. She does get guest appearances, but as far as like the life she used to live, or at least the status she did have at one time, that's been completely wiped out.
Right.
And maybe she might say it was for the best, or she willingly backed off from that. I don't really know, and I wouldn't wager a guess anyway. But yeah, it seemed odd to me that this woman who was once a successful stand-up comedian and sitcom star is now doing psychic readings over the internet.
And I would love to figure out why.
Yeah, so
how.
We're going to get her on the show, I hope sometime soon, because Bobby's been in contact with her. And so, yeah, we want to get her on. There's so many people I want to have back. I want to have Sharon Hill back on. I want to have Scott Bond back on. I want to get, like, new people and new, like... I know we talk a lot about paranormal stuff. We'd like to do true crime stuff and like I said, pop horror or whatever you want to call it, pop culture or whatever. So I want to get some people related to that as well, because we haven't really had a lot of guests lately. It was like when we had Anna on, we almost kind of forgot how to do it.
I know. Because when we call somebody before we go live, we have like a whole little spiel that we used to say. It's like, hello, this is such and such from Strange Frequencies Radio, and this is what's going to happen. And I'm like, what do we say?
Yeah, now it's like, what do you say now? I don't even, what do we say? It's been so long since we've done this. Yeah.
Excuse me.
So I kind of got back into the habit this time when we talked to Anna. So that was
fun. So the one thing that I can say that talking with Anna is I wasn't lying when I say that she sounds exactly like we did 5 years ago.
I think anybody who's going on that journey or whatever, where you start one way and you start changing your opinion about something, especially something that was so important to you.
Yeah. She sounds a little, I don't know if sad's the right word, but I know what she's going through because it's exactly what she said. She actually nailed the analogy right. It's like figuring out that Santa Claus or things that people keep telling you are real well, yeah, maybe it's not real.
Yeah.
And then you kind of get sad.
It is a little bummer, yeah.
But the thing that's great about it is that you get over that hump.
Yeah.
And then you find this whole other world.
Right.
And then you actually appreciate the paranormal community from a totally different aspect.
You're right, yeah. I mean, so when we talk, like when we get on the show here and talk crap about the paranormal community or whatever, or talk about the things that we used to believe and why we don't, and why we can't understand why people can't come to the same conclusions we do sometimes. Like, yeah, you do get a whole new appreciation for it. It's from a completely different angle.
Yeah.
But
we can use the Christmas analogy again. So once you find out that Santa doesn't give you presents, you're going to be bummed out for maybe the first year.
Yeah.
But then you're like, but I still get presents.
Yeah, right.
And now I know that when I wake up, I'm still going to have presents.
You still get presents, or if you have children, then you get to experience Christmas through their eyes in a way. So it's like a different thing. I don't have kids. I hope to never have kids. Yeah. But yeah, so you do experience it, I guess, or experience it from a different angle, or appreciate it from a different angle. And so, yeah, it's just like
the bummer for the adult is when you have kids and then you don't get presents anymore.
Right.
That's when you're like, well, Christmas is
stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was great to finally talk to Anna. And again, check out her Facebook page, Ghost App Ghosts. Her blog is Memento Mori. You can find it at paranormalanna.blogspot.com. Mm-hmm. That's what we want to say.
Awesome.
All right, so
good talk.
Yeah, absolutely. Loved talking to her. So Coming up next week, I'm sure we will go back into more stories. I don't know for sure if we'll have a guest next week. We're still talking to Brett Butler, and we'll see what happens. 'Cause we got so many people we want to have on, and what day we want to have them on is kind of the issue. So we'll get into that, I suppose. But yeah, as for now, that's really all I have to report.
Okay.
Bob, anything else from you?
I'm just gonna watch Fear the Walking Dead again tonight, and I have no reason in my head why I'm going to say anything except this is a shitty show.
Okay.
And then Lou, who's still listening right now, is like, "Oh, Bobby, screw you! This is a great show."
You're supposed to start slow, man.
Yeah.
It's a pilot episode.
I did like how you did the mate.
He gets so mad when I do that too. I don't talk like that. You shut up.
Lou's never said mate.
He's never said that in his life.
You threw like Tony Montana into the Lou accent.
Yeah, he's never said that in his life, but I say it. I say that he says it just so he'll get like hot and angry.
You shut up.
Yeah, you shut up. I kill you. So anyway, we will be back next week with more tomfoolery and ballyhoo. And until we meet again, Bob, let the world of the weird keep turning.
Good night, citizens of Earth.
Mark Twain had a 7-pound vibrator.
I want to try that out.